Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Pocket Jack Comics. They just finished wrapping up a Kickstarter called Palace of the Golden Princess, which is based off of a Dungeons and Dragons game actually produced by women in like the 1970s. And apparently it was so controversial that a bunch of them are really hard to find, and they were like thrown into landfills and burned. And so that's what that comic book is somewhat based off of. And if you actually go to Pocket Jack Comics and you hit up Preston, you may or may not be able to potentially maybe get in the back door to pick up a copy of that book. But I think it did over 10,000 on Kickstarter, which is pretty good. And it's a really beautifully illustrated book. And if you missed the fourth issue, in a few months, he's going to launch issue 5. So just go bother Preston for that book, as well as you could probably pick up some cool stuff from him on Whatnot on Pocket Jack Comics. So go check that stuff out and go look for Pocket Jack in your local comic stores. But enough about that, because I got with me artist Tommy Bell again. So welcome back to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Andrew?
I have no complaints. I turned my 4-day weekend into a 5-day weekend, so I'm taking Monday off. So I have no complaints. I get 10 vacation days, and I carried over from last year like 8 of them. I have to use them. And my boss is like, if you don't use them, man, you're going to lose them. And so there you go. But I got no complaints. But you got a lot of stuff going on. You got a lot of stuff going on with a lot of stuff with LFC, doing some art, doing some other stuff. But before we get into some pictures and breaking down some cool stuff, I kind of want to catch everybody up on who you are, because some of my audience knows who you are. Some of the people, obviously, hopefully everybody else knows who you are. But there's also people who are going to be seeing this saying, who is Tommy Bell? So
exactly
the basic, not all the details. You guys can watch the whole interview from the last time, but for the whole,
I never expect that an audience is going to be like, "Oh yeah, here's this guy." Who the hell is this guy? That's more of what I expect. So, basically, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an artist. I've been drawing my whole life, which is a really long time, but I actually restarted a really exciting portfolio about 4 years ago, where I feature female athletes, fighters, and it's branched out into fashion models and Playboy centerfolds and everything, in kind of fantasy-based artwork and ideas that strike my own weird imagination. One of the things I'm really focused on right now is a new slew of drawings where I'm reimagining iconic movie monsters the way I want to see them. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah, so I want to dive a little bit into that, because there's a little bit more to that than this. Obviously, you have a unique style as an artist that's gotten you in trouble and then out of trouble a little bit. And to say it nicely, I mean, I'm picking my words very carefully here. But what is this even like? Because bad girl art, and even I guess promiscuous art, in the 90s with places like Top Cow, was prevalent, and then it disappeared. Really, I feel in 1998 to about 2008ish, and then it started coming back around 2008, and now I feel in 2024 it's okay, because everybody on Kickstarter and in comics is fine with nude covers. They're fine with full frontal nude covers, and the dam is broken. And so your art style is now not frowned upon, or it's not, oh my God, I got to shield my eyes and I go to church. It's not that anymore. Where I think when you first came to the game in the early 2000s and you were doing some of this stuff, it was that. And so what is that like for you? Because your art style and what you're doing is way more acceptable now than ever before.
And I'll be completely honest, to cap that though, there's a large portion of people who used to talk to me 4 years ago who, because of my art, no longer speak to me. So unfortunately, there's still a lot of that actually. But I started doing this kind of stuff in the 90s. So I was kind of like a decade before all of that. And I live in Ohio. So it's a very conservative state. And so my entertainment is
place. Ohio's known for only two things, and only actually three things. One of your football teams isn't good. The other thing
the
is
one that I like.
the other thing that Ohio is known for is a big wrestling state. And the third thing that people don't talk about with Ohio is Ohio has a big BDSM dominatrix community.
Very true.
It's a weird place. I'm going to plead the fifth if anybody wonders why I know that. It's not that hard to realize why I know that.
Get
if you
Bella
put it
Rockefeller
around
on the line.
what'd you say?
I said, get Bella Rockefeller on the line. Here comes Andrew's going to be the next man puppy.
Hey. We can talk about that all day. She offered.
There it is.
She did offer me. And I was considering if I wanted to go to Vegas and they're having an event, I will happily be her man puppy. And she can put me in a tutu and anything else she wants me to wear. I will happily surrender.
It has to be an event that I'm at then. Like if all that's going to get coordinated, It's
going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be so good. You only live once, right? What's the saying? I regret the things that I didn't do more than the things that I did.
Truth. Absolute truth.
Wait, you sorry for hijacking your answer.
Yeah, but I mean that's actually the premise for like when I restarted drawing, because I took a beating in the 90s because no one was prepped for what I wanted to do, and people literally told me no one's going to hang that shit on their walls. Like that was mostly what I was told. So at the end of the 90s, I quit. I was very disgruntled and I quit. And I spent a lot of time burning stuff, getting rid of stuff. I'm surprised that I have a 90s portfolio to still show because I was just that bitter. And then it took 30 years or something. I don't know. In 2020, whatever it was, some decades later, I was in a really weird spot in my life personally, and I was doing nothing creatively. And I mean, in between that time and that time off, I started, again, you're in Ohio, so there's nothing to do. And me and some like-minded friends got together and put our talents towards doing music. And I formed about 3 or 4 different bands, and we did all original stuff that I would write. And we did, all of these little albums and stuff, and we'd take them to studios and record them and all that. And so we had a lot of fun doing that. And then that fell out of favor. I got so tired of doing that. And then I was doing nothing. And I was encouraged by several people to take pencil to paper again. And I didn't want to. And then after listening to several people, I kind of said, well, I know what I'll do. I will feature female fighters in fantasy artwork because I don't think that's ever been done. And I don't think that it's ever been offered to these companies like Lingerie Fighting Championships. And I'm pretty sure that when I started crossing paths with all these people, they did not know what to do or what to make of. Like, what the hell is this?
So let's actually talk about that because it's funny, right? So a lot of weird opportunities have come across my way, and somebody said to me, you were trying to force something and almost force a square peg into a round hole. And then when 20 opportunities came across my way where I couldn't go wrong, but I had to make a choice, go down path A, B, C, or D, I was ready for it. And life was saying, you're ready to do X now. And so, I tell the story, and then the story is that I got offered, excuse me, while I choke. I got offered a job the same day I was seeing a surgeon who could perform a corrective surgery on me that would have kept me out, as well as offered continuance of education that was worth 20 grand, all legitly on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of continuance education, I was also offered a part-time job. And so now I'm in a situation that it's like, great, what do I do now? And, what a friend of mine said is that opportunity came because you were ready to make a decision. And then even with where I'm at in my eBay business and I've gone through an expansion and a pivot, I'm now ready to make that. So what is that like? Because that could very well be that you were just in a weird spot where it was just time for you to, like I said, you're ready to do this now. If that makes any sense.
Well, I think honestly, this new portfolio and this new direction, it came into being because it was right for it to come into being. Everything was in the right place, and my mindset had a direction that I knew nobody else was going in, and it takes a lot of bravery to to set the sails and to do that, knowing that even your target audience is going to initially look at you and go, "What the is this?" And a lot of that happened, but what I didn't expect was so much acceptance and one opportunity from one person who was thrilled by what I was doing led into another opportunity to the point where now I've had like the ultimate opportunity of drawing and working on someone's book cover, so that if I go into Barnes and Nobles or I go on Amazon or something like that, and we'll talk more about that as you want to, but like every artist dreams of like, it's great to do these
Yeah,
drawings.
we're gonna table that because I want to end with that because I think it's going to be very interesting. But
Yeah,
obviously, I mean, you're an LFC. LFC is not WWE. No offense to LFC. I love LFC, but
yeah,
they are a small company that's growing. But they
oh
have an
yeah.
audience, and they definitely get attention on social media. And so, what is this like? Because you've done a bunch of work for them. Obviously, I put up the Bella Rockefeller man puppy thing, which is kind of funny to me. I think it's hilarious. In a lot of ways. There's
Bella
a few
Rockefeller was
others.
actually in the last drawing I did for the LFC too, kind of showcasing a fight she had with Holly Dunaway, and I thought that was one of the best LFC drawings that I have done
Is
in
it
my
this one?
portfolio. Yes.
I thought it was this one. I didn't know. I didn't know. Again, sometimes drawings and who's in them is a little bit tricky.
Those are my two friends, Holly Dunaway and Bella Rockefeller, and I love. I get very overcritical of my drawings a lot, and that one I can't criticize anything. Like from start to finish, that's what I had in my head. That's what I managed to finally put on paper, and it's always a struggle. You're always like, "Here's what I have in my imagination. I want to get this on paper so people could see it the right way." And so many drawings, I'm like, I didn't. No, no, no.
So let's get into this a little bit too, because this is the thing. So when
Uh-oh.
I create an interview, right, I have an outline of questions. I
Sure.
also understand that it's a give and take between me and my guest. So I have a middle, a beginning, and an end idea.
Mhm.
But sometimes an interview takes a left turn. And for whatever reason, that's just how it's going to go. And there's
Sure.
nothing good or bad about it, but I have an idea and I try to keep it. It's kind of like bowling, right? If you ever gone bowling and you put up the bumpers on it because you're really, really bad at bowling, yeah, that's it.
No
Okay.
bumpers here. I'm a gutter ball all the way, dude, with pride.
Well, I play with the gutters, but me and my friends play a very different
Right.
game. We play a very different game. But we
I'm gonna get
play
my glow in the dark bowling shoes on. Let's go.
so, but I digress from the jokes. But like that, so but when you're an artist and you're producing a piece of art that's either going to be on the cover or something or going to be used in social media or be used for promotion, I mean there is no interaction with a fan when you're building something like this. And so what is that like for you to have a real idea of saying, cool, obviously this is going to be used by LFC, and you want to convey an image so that it sells the fight, it sells the promotion, it sells the component. And because you don't want to give them mermaids fighting underwater, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in a second. I like mermaids fighting underwater too, but you're not going to give them mermaids fighting underwater because they're not a mermaid fighting underwater company. Like,
Right. I think, well, first of all, part of it is because I now have featured and showcased several different companies that all have their own direction and their own thing. And I think the first part, before I even offer, let's use the last LFC drawing. Before I even offer that up as an idea, I have it in my head and I think it through and I consider if that image, as cool as I think it is, does it fit the company and the brand that I'm trying to showcase? Because if it doesn't mean shit. And I have the list of unused ideas that I consider good ideas is epic and mythic in its proportion. I have pages and pages of just ideas by title only that either haven't married up with the right model or lady, or it hasn't received the right enthusiasm in my head or whatever. But or I've said, no, that's stupid, I'll save it for later. Yeah, I mean, and after I'm long gone, there will still be this list that, like, if I did a drawing a day, I'd be 88 by the time I finished it, you know. So I consider if it fits the company. And then what I do, and this is where I'm very lucky, because as an artist, even though I'm working alone like Dr. Frankenstein in this little lab, the first thing I do is I reach out to everybody. I go, okay, it's going to be for lingerie fighting championships. I haven't done a piece for them in a little while, and I need to keep that stoking that fire and send something to Sean and Holly Mae and everybody. And so it's going to be LFC. What do I like from LFC? And I became really good friends with both Holly Dunaway, and I've been friends with Bella Rockefeller, and they had a great LFC match that I enjoyed very much many times. And I thought that and the LFC banner, which the last time I drew hand drew the LFC logo, which is a bitch to do because it's all done on computer. They have it all graphically mapped out, and I'm sitting there with a free hand trying to draw this thing. The last time I did it before this was on Jolene Hex's ass on that t-shirt you love so much. And after doing that drawing, I said, I'm not going to hand draw this anymore, Sean. I'm going to just like, no, I'm not going to. And I thought, yeah, I am. I'm going to do that again, really big. And I want a stormy sky that's really dark and powerful looking behind these two as they're struggling it out. And before I take pen to paper, I reached out to the LFC folks. I reached out to Mr. Michael Larkin because he's my run through guy, and he's also the co-host of my drawing show. And I reached out to both ladies. Do I have everybody's okay? Do I have every this and that or whatever? And they all get back to me, usually right away. And they all did, very enthusiastic. And then that tells me, okay, now lock the idea down. Let's, and then the LFC will send me a litany of photos to work from, and I'll select one and go and do it. So just the same way with other companies, I have the honor of communicating with all of these people way beforehand. My drawings are much more like putting a movie together in the way that I have weeks and weeks of pre-preparation before I can even take pen to paper with all these people, because now I have to schedule a drawing show. And I want these people as guests on the drawing show so they can watch themselves being drawn. And it's this and it's that. And the new projects I have coming up have required so much pre-production that I've been wrapped up with several different people in pre-production of my next projects for about 4 or 5 weeks. And that's going to continue all the way through the end of the year. What I have coming up is so epic that a lot of it I can't talk about yet. But it's absolutely mind-bending. And by the time you get to Halloween, you'll be like, this is what you were talking about? I have broken the 4 walls of Tommy Bell art, and the next 2 projects I'm going to do are really going to, it's just what I'm going to do just by being a Tommy Bell artist and they're very LFC themed, and the people that I have working on these with me are the best of the best. And there's something coming up that is just, it's going to be an eye popper for the LFC fans. It's going to be an eye popper for me to see come to fruition, because it's been something my grand plan for the year, and it's happening. But some of it, again, this is just teaser talk because A lot of it, honestly, right now I cannot talk about, but it's
You
going to
see, it's
happen.
so interesting, right? Because I'm the opposite, right? I don't want my guests to be prepped up at all.
No,
Nobody knows which Andrew they're gonna get on what night because you might get angry Andrew, you might get sharp Andrew, you get me all chilled out. You don't know. Also, I interview a variety of guests, and I like to mix it up. I might have an adult star on my show, and then I might have a cosplayer who does princess parties, legitly next to each other purposely, because that's the objective. Is I want to keep people on their toes on my show. So somebody's like, "Cool, Andrew's doing 2 interviews, but who's coming out on Wednesday?" And you don't know who's coming on and why they're coming on and what it looks like. And I might get a top star on my show, and then I might go interview somebody who has 100 followers on Instagram purposely, because I
right.
like to keep things all chumpy, and nothing is ever certain. And in some weeks, I disappear for 2 weeks sometimes, and it's wonderful. But like, I don't have the position of communication, but I like not having that because I'm an interview show, and like there's no prep work. It's like I might
Well,
have some going on in 2 weeks, and it's awesome. I love it. Like, I love
that's probably
chaos.
the bonus. That's the bonus though for working, the way you do and the way some of the other podcasters that I know, like Michael Larkin, they have the benefit sometimes of doing that. And I don't do it on purpose, but there is a realistic reason for it, and it's because what I'm trying to do is create an image, and I've got over 91 images now in the past 4 years. So it's becoming challenging to create something that I think people might want to see, that they might think, wow, that's a really, really cool image. I really like that. And so my battle is that because I showcase people and work with people who are far more successful than I am, but they also have schedules that are so booked that I have to pre-plan if I'm going to do all these things and I'm going to work with these people. They're every single person that I work with is so accommodating to the best of their ability. My way of accommodating is by pre-planning from my end everything I can as far in advance as I can, because when I get their time and attention, they're working out their schedules to accommodate me. And then when they have a question like, what pose do you need? Because a lot of times these people will take special photographs so that I'm not just using their most popular photograph that you see all over social media. I'm using an image you haven't seen. It's not a photograph that they're going to post on social media, but they're taking it for me for the drawing, right? And so they'll ask me, because they're taking it maybe in their backyard, or wherever, and by somebody. And what do you need? And I have to sketch out whatever, and here's what I'm looking for, and here's my ideas, and all this stuff has to be spelled out so that they have an idea at least of what I'm reaching for, so that they can best accommodate me with the photographic material that I'll need to accomplish my end. So it's not that I want to pre-plan stuff so far in advance, but definitely the projects that I'm doing for the remainder of this year, which are only a few, are going to have such an impact, though, that it's required all this pre-production stuff on a drawing. It's not.
I get it. I get it completely because on the back end, so the actual interview that I do is not necessary. I mean, it's pre-planned maybe a week or two in advance,
Right.
but also, and also I just knock on people's doors. And what I've learned is that I'll ask 500 people a year because I need 100, 120.
Right.
And so I'm just going to keep knocking. And if I keep knocking and then I circle back and I'm going to make myself unresistible so that if you say no to me now, in 3 years from now, because this has happened multiple times in the last 10 years where somebody said no to me and they're like, oh, holy shit, you asked me when you had 10 subscribers and now you have 600. And oh, snap, you've interviewed all my friends and you have 600 interviews. You weren't a spec. You were legitly here for life.
Right.
And people say, I have to be on your show because you're going to be here for the next 10 years.
Right.
And what I say is, if you don't want to do it today, I'll hit you up in a year from now and to the day. And I've done that. That's my favorite thing, saying, I asked you a year ago. This is the day I asked you last year. I would like to interview you now. And that there's two things. A, it fucks with somebody's head when you do that.
Right.
was like, oh my God, this person put it in their calendar to do this on this day. Because
Right.
I think it's funny, first and foremost. That's why I'm doing it. And secondly, it also says, I'm circling back in a year. My word is golden.
Right.
And,
Well, it
and, and
absolutely is, because it's been more than just 1 year, I think, since I was on your podcast first. But you were like, "Hey, we're going to do this again sometime," and here it is. Sometime later, here we are.
when somebody says, oh, you're not big enough, you're not this, and say, cool, I'll circle back in a year, and I put it in my calendar as a reminder, and it's that exact day they rejected me, I hit them up again, because that reconfirms a position. I
Mhm.
also get that things change in life very, very quick in entertainment.
Yeah.
But and people think they're really big 1 year, and then things shift around. And Hollywood, modeling, the adult industry, wrestling, it is a brutal, brutal, brutal industry.
Yeah.
MMA, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, it is a brutal industry because you could be really, really hot in 6 months, and it could be in a downstrut. It happens.
Yeah. It absolutely does. I've seen it myself. Um, I'm surprised that I haven't been a casualty.
It's brutal, but I do want to talk about something that you did mention, that you're doing fewer projects, and we were
Mm,
speaking about this off air. And what I said is that I've done, I guess, 50% less interviews, and my viewership and my watch hours is up in the 6 months almost by 50 or 60%. So I will do double or triple what I did all of this year than I did last year. So I did about 21,000 views and about 1,000 watch hours. I'm at about 27,000 views this year so far, and I'm about 900 watch hours.
right.
And that was from January to June. And so it's easy to suggest that I would do double that at the rate I'm going, and I might even do more. And what is that like? Because we were talking about that before we went live, and it's weird when all of a sudden something shifts and you're doing something different, and that you're getting more attention to what you're doing, but you're doing less work.
Yeah, which was absolutely not my intention. My problem was, well, yeah, I get, well, we can call it my problem. My problem was that very early on this year, I was exhausted, and I was seeing that I was coming to the end of what I would call my great production run, meaning for 4 years, gang, I've been kicking, almost 4 years, kicking out drawings, sometimes a drawing a week. And we're talking about like for a year, folks. Like, and I began to wonder, especially the more the exhaustion set in, what for? Like, not what am I drawing for, but why am I doing this kind of production? And I kind of thought initially this was to make a name for myself. And then I thought, well, I'm just killing myself, really. Like, I don't know if I'll ever make a name for myself the way I have in my head, but um, I just, it was exhaustion, because I do work a regular full time job. I have a family, and then trying to fit in what essentially is another full time job to a lot of people. Like, by the time you've worked a full time job and you've gone off of that shift and you've spent family time, your day is done. And what you have to imagine is, well, okay, instead of sleep, now I'm going to draw for 4 hours, that every night. Um, and sometimes holidays and stuff. It was just crazy. And I told myself, but honestly, dude, I reached a point and I said, you know what? I don't give a shit about how much popularity or followers or whatever. And that's not to say I don't care about how many followers I have. Like, I am always surprised when I get a new follower. I'm like, that's awesome. That's just great. But it wasn't worth the exhaustion and a work level, because I wasn't sure how it was going to apply to anything. And once I realized that I wasn't sure, I stopped caring and I went, okay, wait, hit the brakes. And I did an LFC piece. I'm like, I'm going to wrap up this big production run with an LFC piece. And then one of my greatest supporters, Mia Annabella, had been on my draw me list for like 3 years or 2.5 years or something. And she was always very communicative and always so awesome and supportive that I was like, I'm going to end that big production run with her drawing. Finally, she's going to get her drawing. And then from then, it's going to be just a few. And as soon as I announced that, uh, one of my friends, I got a book cover for you. I'm like, son of a bitch, what about that? And other people have also reached out saying, I want something or whatever. And I'm certainly not going to say no, but I have an extreme threshold on the production level. And to my shock, my saying, hey, I'm going to do like 4 more projects this year, and the rest of it's kind of best of shit, folks. That's the way it's going to go. And like all the attention increased. And I'm like, why the fuck now? Like,
So this is so interesting, right? Because what happened to me is that I just felt underappreciated. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I felt, and I'm very honest about this, is that I felt a bunch of people in the indie comic realm are what are known as takers, and they don't reciprocate. And a bunch of people have shows, and they've never invited me back on their show. And I said, what the fuck's up with this shit?
right.
And here I am, and you've been on my show 5 times, and you have quote unquote gotten bigger. And then you say you don't want to come on my show, and you treat me like shit, and then you go on 10 other podcasts. And I said, you know what? I don't need to answer to any of this. And then I looked at my bank account and I said, I'm not making any money doing this. And,
Fuck it.
so I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, screw it. And if somebody is going to give me a hard time, say, oh, you're not a big enough show, I'm going to say, thank you very much. I will circle back in a year. And there's somebody who's going to be, I want to be part of this. And there always is somebody who says, I want to be part of this. And sometimes, and I put parameters on, and you get rid of assholes. And
Right.
what started happening is that I started just doing like 1 or 2 a week, and I was happier. I was happy doing an interview on Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And then I was in bed by 9. I was watching Chicago PD on my iPad, or I was watching, like NXT on my iPad, and I was thrilled. And then I was able to edit content. And I also figured out that, yeah, the interview is important because that's the main piece. But what people are really watching is all the micro content. They're watching a TikTok, and then you convert naturally. And I said, wait a second, my viewership is up not on the direct interview, but it's up on the fact of the micro content. And that's benefiting the people that I'm interviewing way more than they even realize.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think people are eventually going to catch up. And what I figured out is that people, because it's a generation, it's a generation me and a generation now. But you want that micro content. I mean, Bella Madison is a good example of this, where I have a clip of her that's done 5,500 views of talking about her. You don't think that's not good for her brand? That means 5,500 people have seen her on a massively passive level 2 months after we did the interview with whatever's in that clip. And then several of her clips have done like 300 or 400 things from the interview we did. So there gets a point where it's like, that's way more than the actual interview did, but people come across, and that's algorithmically paired on that. And then I realized that what's going to help the people that I'm interviewing the most.
Right.
And it's not the interview. It's the micro content that's cut up from the interview.
Sure.
And that's what changed. And so I'm focusing my attention there.
As you should. I mean, and it does make sense. And I do want to be absolutely clear about, like, I didn't feel the reason that I got that I chose to cut back isn't because I felt underappreciated by the people that I was now working with, and the companies that I was showcasing, because that's absolutely the flip side of the coin. Everybody that I've drawn, and everybody, I mean, especially within the past 2 years, everybody that I've drawn and all the companies that I do work with and showcase have been amazing supporters. What I didn't feel I was getting was like enough popular recognition. How the hell do you redefine that in a way that makes sense?
The way I felt it's very much, I felt that people were just trying to take advantage of me. I genuinely felt
Oh, I've
that
had
people,
that.
and I felt that even just a thank you, I have been promised everything under the sun and then some. And then people 2 weeks, like they ask for my address to send me free books, and then I give them my address, and then they don't ever say anything else. And I don't need a $20 book to make me feel valued. It's the fact that it was offered and then it wasn't delivered. And when that happens 20 times, you then start to say, what the hell am I doing here? Why would you offer X when, and that's what started happening. It wasn't just 20 times, it was more like 50 times. And then you start getting the lack of reciprocation, lack of thank yous. You know, you tag people, people take the tags off of Instagram and then they want to share out it on their own Facebook wall. And you say, what the hell? And then you say, I'm promoting you. You can't even share it on your Facebook wall. Like it's the simple things. It's
Yes,
and that's where I started saying, you know what? I'm gonna figure out who I want to talk to. First
exactly.
thing,
That's totally
first thing,
happened to me, dude. I've had a few people, a few, and if anybody, if anybody ever gets curious, you'll really have to decode it. But a few people who approached me in that 4 year stretch and said, "Draw me, draw me, draw me," and I'm like, "Great, sure." And then I do it, and I get no response, hardly any, whatever, and this and that, and it's like, if you're not like, there are people who will communicate with me on a ridiculous level because they understand what I have to do, and there are some people who want a drawing, but they have no fucking clue what I need from them, and they won't keep that door both ways. And every time that I've realized that, and it's happened a handful of times, I simply don't draw them again, and I don't really communicate with them again. If they say hi, I'll say hi. And every once in a while, like one of these will say, "Gee, it's
I'm
been a long time," and it's like, sure has,
gonna ask you a question on this because do you have a ban list?
a band list.
Yeah, yeah, like a list of people who you won't deal with ever.
Oh,
Because I do.
it's
I
it's
do.
short. It's short.
My
And
list has 10 people on it. It's got 10 people with nearly 1,000 interviews. That's 1%. I think that
yeah,
that's 1%. That's not bad. You have to really cross a line to get banned from my show. You have to, and that's my point, is that you really have to do something that's offensive to me.
see, this
And
is what's bad about me though, is you actually don't have to really do something bad to get banned on my list. Although it is a short list, all you have to do is ignore me enough, and then I'll be like, all right, fine, fuck it, and I don't care. And I've never cared, and this is because I'm older, probably, and maybe I'm an enigma in that way. Is that I've never cared from my first drawing to my 90-second drawing how many followers or how popular a model is, right? If I want to do that, if I want to include them in a project, it's always up to their enthusiasm, if they fit what I'm looking for.
that's interesting.
I don't go and I pull them up and go, "Oh, they've got 50,000 followers. Sure, I'll draw them." "Oh, you only have 10,000 followers. You only have 20 followers." That's never been a thing. I'll draw somebody with 2 followers. I'll draw somebody with 200,000 followers
It's
or
interesting.
more, like some of the like Andrea Christine, who I work with at least once a year. Some ridiculous amount of 300,000 Instagram followers. Andrea Christine, there she is. We had a drawing show over that drawing right there called Red. That was that drawing was, and there's Angel Food Cake, which was my idea, but Red was her idea. Like we've done 4 projects
Now
together,
I
and
don't know. I don't know what fairy tale that's from. I mean, it probably involves a wolf, murder, all sorts
yeah,
of
well,
stuff.
that was all her idea, dude. Like I had my own Halloween ideas, and she came in like she always does because she's very
so,
she's
so
very,
I agree with you about the superstar thing, which I forgot who said it to me. It might have been Rusty Gilligan, who's done stuff for everybody.
right.
And I love Rusty Gilligan. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a great individual. He's done stuff for like trading cards. He's done stuff involving just a bunch of stuff. He did stuff for heavy metal back in the day. So the point is that I think he might have said to me, and I might be mistaken. He said, "There is no superstar who is big enough," meaning that there's
Right.
nobody in the world who is should be above your show. And that doesn't mean that we'll use John Cena. Obviously, John Cena is a superstar,
Right.
but the goal is that if you have John Cena on your show, John Cena isn't above your show. He is the show, and he is equivalent to your show. So when I have a guest who has 1 million Instagram followers, the show is 1 million Instagram followers equivalent for that guest.
There you go.
And when a guest doesn't understand that, then they don't really get it. And they don't understand that your name is equated into the show, and that's the exchange, is you're getting media, and that's where we're at, right? And there's been plenty of people who think they're bigger than the show.
Right.
And that's usually a telltale sign for me that doesn't
Uh-oh.
mean that you're not negotiating a schedule. But when somebody comes into that premise, there you go. But again, my best interviews I've had been with people who have 1,500 Instagram followers because they
Right.
want to be there. And that's the thing too, is that when somebody wants to be there, you can tell. Like I had Barry Yandel, who plays a character from One Piece, Mr. Tuban Clay. He wanted to be on my show.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nice.
it's a difference of an interview. Like, I think you want to be here. Hopefully you want to be here.
Exactly. And it's funny. One time, here's an example, and I forget the lady's name, and I wouldn't say it even if I knew it. Some lady followed me on Instagram a couple of years ago, and she messaged me right away.
How are we telling the story of how I look in a dress? This is not okay.
Well, no, she
apparently
she's a very popular person, but she wanted a drawing, but there was no discussion of how much do you charge, nothing like that, right? So it was just this, I really want to be in one of your drawings, you're a great artist. And I'm like, okay. And I said, well, what are you going to do with so I do this drawing and then what? And she goes, well, if you do the drawing, I'll put it on my story. Those things that disappear in 24 hours. And so I went and I looked, and here she's I love this terminology, because for me, I don't give a shit. It's called social media influencer. And I looked at that and I started laughing, and she's got this ridiculous following or whatever. And she has chapters of stories that are just riddled with hundreds and hundreds of artists that she's probably asked to draw them. And I looked at all that and I went, so I'm going to work for 10 days on my blood, sweat, and tears, and you're going to take that image and you're going to post it somewhere for somebody to see for 24 hours. Then it's going to disappear, and that's that. That's what you're good. That's the exchange. And I just very politely, because in my head I was like, fuck you. And very politely I was like, thanks, but no thanks. Because I don't even know if I swear an awful lot on social media, but my at home and my real person is always like, look, if I can have people who are creatively involved and communicative and involved in being a part of the drawing and the drawing show,
interview is going to be up there forever as long as I have a YouTube channel.
Right.
And this is the thing in which I've had influencers quote me prices, and I'm like, you're going to charge me $1,200 for a story on your Instagram. I get that you have 1 million followers, but you do realize that for $1,200, I can do a lot of things. I could do Facebook ads. I can take that $1,200 and legitly go and buy 100,000 followers on a Facebook page. Or better yet, I could go hire somebody who could organically grow my YouTube channel for $1,200 and get me subscribers with a 25% retention rate, meaning they'll find 1,000 and I'll retain 250 subscribers. And then, there you go. Now I actually have an audience. So
Or
why would
even better, I'll go on Instagram Live and hold up $1,200 cash in my little fucking hand and go, I just saved myself $1,200 by doing exactly what I'm doing right now, which is promoting my own stupid ass. You morons. I'm too old to give a fuck about that shit. So, but, and
that's
again,
great.
ahead, it's like if I can have, especially and lucky enough to have people who have a boatload of followers who are willing to commit to helping me make a drawing that they want to be a part of, and then I've got somebody who's got, again, less followers or whatever, and they just go, I sure would like it if you would draw me. I kind of go, well, that sure would be great. And I leave it ambiguously unanswered, like, yes, you're not wrong. Like, that would be great. But if you're not offering anything and you're not going to give the attention and you're not going to help me promote it, especially on social
Let
media,
you know, I don't want you to
do it a
draw me.
couple of clicks.
I'm letting you know right now. I don't want you to draw me. I am not draw proof. I do not. I
drew
know my
Michael
lane.
Larkin
Okay.
once.
What'd you say?
I said I drew Michael Larkin once.
I'm okay. I'm okay with not being drawn.
No
I
pressure.
understand my lane. I am perfectly fine. You know, if you want to draw somebody else instead of me, I will be offended.
All right then.
I am perfectly fine with you not drawing me. I am perfectly fine with that. I want to make that crystal clear. I sleep fine at night in my nice hard
You
bed.
are really ruining all my plans, dude. Now what am I supposed to do?
I know, right? That was the grand finale. If you just going off in the sunset, right?
Everything's ruined now, folks. Just might as well, sorry, show's over. Andrew screwed it all up.
No, but it gets tricky, right? Because this is the whole thing in which that I was in a business negotiation, like counseling meeting that helps young entrepreneurs, and we were having this conversation about bargaining back, right? And this is where I'm at too, is that like, who do I want to interview and what do you bring to the table? So like, there's people who I love talking to. I have a good friend. Last night I interviewed my friend Dwayne Madry. We had a great conversation. I love talking to Dwayne. I also have a good interview with Dwayne. Is Dwayne going to get me 1,000,000 people watching me? Not necessarily, but do I have a good time? Is it an easy interview where I have a good time with it? Yes. Do I have a good time interviewing you? Yes. Now, I know that I'm going to get stuff that LFC is going to pay attention to. They're going to retweet some of this stuff. They're going to see it, and it fosters a relationship with LFC. So no offense, but the bargaining bag when I interview you and interview people from LFC is that there is a connection that it fosters a relationship between them. It fosters a relationship with you, and it's beneficial to every party involved. So
Look at
like
these amazing LFC shirts that, of course, are no longer in production that Tommy Bell has still a boatload of. And I may, this is kind of another leak, but I may wind up remerching all of my LFC art related stuff at some point. It's just something that in my free time when I'm not wrapped up in so many drawings, I am entertaining the idea of, because I've had a lot of people ask, what about that Jolene Hex shirt with her butt on it? Or what about some of these other shirts that you didn't know? I did Holly Mae and Jolene Hex, and I've done Bella Inc., and I've done a lot of people, Lauren Ceccarelli. And here's my LFC wall of signature fame over there. I'm very closely branded with them, of course, but they've given me the marketing and branding freedom to merch out my LFC drawings on shirts, mugs, and things. It's just something that I haven't launched yet, but it's something that it's definitely.
to do it. There's two places to do it: Redbubble or Pro Wrestling Tees.
I don't know anything about any of that shit. Like
Basically, what they do is for in the basic is that you get a very small royalty, but you handle no fulfillment.
Okay. I see.
It sounds nice, right? That's what I do with my shirts. Is I'll make $2 on a shirt, right? But I handle no taxation, I handle no merch, and I collect a small little royalty, and it's beautiful because guess what? Who processes the return? They do. Who handles all of the bulk? They do. And I just collect a little paycheck, but all I have to do is market the shirt.
Right.
It saves me so much time, and I understand that there's less money If you do it all yourself, you get the bulk of the lion's share, but you're
Yeah.
also doing all the work.
Hell, I don't know if I have the time. That's been the biggest holdup with me launching like a website, quote unquote, is that if I'm
See
pulling
how
back,
my idea is attractive now? My idea is attractive, right? If you don't have the time.
I'm thinking it over. I mean, you and I will talk more about that after the show because
Of
now I'm
course.
going, oh, maybe like because I
This
know there
is
are
what
still.
I do. For everybody has a different philosophy. I have a very different investment philosophy. I'm a dividend guy. So I like collecting passive income in every single way. And I'd like to generate businesses that generate passive income because I have a very active income business as a side hustle. So I try to find other businesses that don't require much of my time that could generate me maybe $1,000 a year. But that's what I'm trying to do. It's very, but everybody's different.
My biggest problem is that I'm a moron. So what I am is that I am a creative, whatever. I mean, that's where my strengths are is in creating. But what I can't create is a heartbeat for what it is that I do. So I can create the images, and I spent so much time dreaming of all this stuff and in dreamland that unfortunately the practical side of now how can I take that and make money with it? Like it escapes me. I'm terrible
Oh,
at
I'm so bad at what you do. I'm creative in structuring deals, and I can pinpoint what's going to be hot and trendy, right?
I just need to take the because let's face it, in my stuff, each drawing that I do costs me, aside from all of the work that it does and all the days it takes for me to actually physically do it and apply the skill to it, it costs me financially almost $65 to do one drawing. So when I do a drawing and nobody responds, I just lost $65 in materials that I now have to to do my next drawing. And what I have failed to come up with the idea is how to take each image or the majority of those images and start to create some kind of financial heartbeat.
Oh my
So that,
God, I'm going to save your business off air. I'm going to save you in so many ways. I'm going to simplify your business. I'm going to make you so rich.
well, I'm ready to be rich because my wife wants to buy a goddamn boat. So let's go, dude. Like,
Where are you going to put the boat on? Like Michigan? Is Ohio even near one of the Great Lakes? Like,
no, dude, we're in a community that has a man-made lake. It's a really large lake. Like this place is great in here where we live, but a lot of people have pontoon boats and things of that. And it's nothing fancy. I mean, we're not talking yachting here. I mean, we don't have. I don't have money like that. You know, in fact, I'm a starving artist who lives off peanut butter and jelly. It's the way it is. But you know, when we dream, and my wife and I dream very big. And our big dreams are not big dreams. In the world of people, even that I work with, they would look at these and go, oh, Jesus Christ, dude. But no, I mean, it's just stupid shit that we're like, hey.
I don't even want. I'll tell you what I really want. All I want is I just want to have enough money that I could pay my mortgage without having to use my day job's money. And I'm very simple. And legitimately, I just want to watch sports and wrestling when I come home with a six pack. And I just, if I have kids, I want to be able to send them to college debt free. That's really it. And
My
then I
kid's
want to be able to.
going to college now. She's just getting ready to start college. She's looking into all that stuff. And so, again, here's what I want. I want to not work my regular crappy day job, and I want to just draw here and there as I can. I want to go to some of these events, and then I just want to watch females fight and excel, and do my Tommy Bell thing and do the art show, and enjoy life with my wife out on the lake and do different shit. Like just enjoy. I'm almost 55. I just want to enjoy shit. I'm not in my 20s and 30s where I'm caught up in celebrity. Like that's.
I enjoy my day job. I enjoy my day job because I'm
I
helping.
hate my day job.
I'm helping people. It's gonna be a long time, and
I do
nobody's
help
yelling at
people.
me.
I do a damn good job at my day job, but I cannot wait to divorce myself from most any day jobs because I can then apply that time.
What I want is that. So I also work 4 days from home. It's just that Monday sucks. It's a 13-hour day, and it's gonna suck. It's 13 hours because my day job is 8 hours, but my commute's like an hour and a half.
I work in retail, so tomorrow I'm at the actual shop working open to close on a Sunday, and that's every Sunday. So feel
I
it.
feel you. I feel you. So but my point is that I'm working in digital accessibility. So I'm working on products and development of products that get digitally made accessible so somebody who's blind can use it. So I know my product is helping somebody, and that helps a lot. That helps a lot when you're doing something that is meaningful that you know is helping somebody.
Well, I'm not.
But
I work
you
in
can
retail.
understand. You can understand why I have a different reaction to my job
Yes, yeah,
because
absolutely. I
and
put
so when
myself
you're
in the
in that,
physical abuse of the American public. Is
fair
what I.
enough, fair enough. I'm look, everybody takes shit at their job, no matter because there's good days and bad days at your job, right? And so that's just like the last 3 weeks, I worked on a project that for lack of a better word, it was an abortion. How it was built was an abortion, and I what I said to my boss, I said I don't want to say anything on who built this because I don't know who did, but it was built wrong. And it was problematic when it was built. I understand that shit happens. I understand that this was done 6 years ago and we're getting to it now. I did my best here. It's not perfect. It will never be perfect. And if we have to go through this again in 3 years, it's 50% better or 70% better. And when we go through this in 3 years when they update it, it'll be another 10% better. But even if we go through it, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
There's no, and my boss is like, I get it. I understand that you did a fantastic job where you brought something from being a pile of shit to being better.
It's a
But
good pile of shit.
it's cleaner and it's crappy. It's not shitty anymore.
Right.
So, but I have a different. But again, that's where I'm at. So, but I digress. But I do want to go through pictures because I did say we are going to talk about fighting mermaids because
Oh,
I
yeah.
do enjoy fighting mermaids, and I'm pretty sure that this might get me a flag on YouTube because there is some nudity in this. And
Uh-oh.
sushi is in this one, I think. Um,
Sushi Yvette and Carissa Dumond.
so yeah, fighting mermaids, guys. That.
Yes. Underwater War was the name of that particular piece. And this was a classic example of an outrageous idea that I had along with Carissa. And her and I really started talking. And she said, let's get sushi involved. And so I said, well, I've drawn her before. Okay, let's see what's up. And she was very enthusiastic also about it. And they were shooting content very similar to that through an underwater company. I can't think of the name right now. I'm so sorry. Um, but so they were shooting this this underwater stuff with mermaid tails, and I think it was actually Sushi's first time wearing a mermaid tail. And so they photographed and took some photos again for this drawing, which then I was able to incorporate exactly the way I wanted. But the amount of pre-production effort that the ladies put in before I ever sharpened my pencils, just on me saying, yes, let's do this drawing, here's what I have in mind, um, was outstanding. You know, all that setup and all that stuff. Yes, they were producing other content, but in that moment, they also took the time to create something that I needed for my production, just like Don Cross Photography has done in the past. He's working with these ladies, and yes, they have these costumes, and I say, can I have this specific picture or two? And he will say, sure. And the ladies will say, sure.
Also to add to that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if Don Cross is shooting a bunch of stuff and you need a specific pose and they're all there, it's not costing anybody any more money if the pose is going to take 30 seconds or an extra minute
They
for the
send it
most
right
part.
over to me.
You see where I'm going with this? If you ask for something and the ladies are gone 3 weeks later, they got to come back. Then that's when it's costing people more money. But if somebody's on a 2-hour shoot, it's kind of like at a wedding, right? My friend just got married, and the photographer took a lot of shots that are probably stupid shots, but he might have caught the right moment, right? So
Right.
it doesn't cost him any more money to take an extra 100 shots because he might catch the bride dancing with her father at the right moment if he took 15 shots. But if he only took one, he might have missed it.
Yeah. I mean, classic example was a couple of cave girl drawings that I did with Whitney Morgan. and Don Cross was working with her and already had the cave girl outfits, and it was a shoot they were going to do. And it just so happened that I caught him a couple of weeks at least before the shoot, and everybody was on board. And I said, here's a couple of different photos that I'd like to have, because here's what I want to do. And everybody said, great. And then photo shoot day came, and within a couple of days, I had a whole bunch of amazing photos that I had the permission to work off of to do my thing. So, and I feel, you know, really lucky that I have that. You know, Andrea Christine will actually work with J Snow Photo on her photographic concepts and get all the photos exactly the way she wants, and then take some on purpose because those are the ones that she wants me to use. Like with her, she won't send me a whole bunch of photos. She'll send me like two. Say, this is what I want, because she's very specific. She's very specific though, but she'll say, this is
That's
what I
helpful
want.
too, right? Isn't
I'm
that
sorry?
helpful? Sometimes that's helpful too, right? Where somebody's giving you saying, look, I want you to play in this box versus giving you 15 options. I would imagine sometimes, right?
It works both ways. But with her, which I don't, everybody works differently, because here they all are doing their thing, and then all of a sudden they're working with this artist. You know, so for me, again, working with me is a little bit of an enigma. They're getting used to the ideas. But Andrea is very specific. She's an artist in her own right, and she knows exactly what she wants. And after having worked with her several times, we understand each other. And so she is being specific because she wants a specific image rendered by me, so that the outcome is exactly what she wants. And ultimately, that's what you're giving a client, is you're trying to get as close to what they're expecting to see. And she's very uh, specific. Sometimes people will give me a litany of photos that they really like, which is also great, because at pre-planning stages, it opens up so many options, you know, and then you just select one and you're like, here's the one, here's what I'm doing, you know, and then you just run off of it.
Again, I'm not an artist. Again, I have an idea on what I want to talk about. Sometimes I'll ask somebody what they want to talk about on an interview, but a lot of the times I'm like, we're going to talk about what I want to talk about. And then you're coming on, but also, is when somebody has a Kickstarter, we're talking about your Kickstarter for the most part. Like we have a box, but when somebody comes on who doesn't have a project going on and we're just talking about their art, I'm like, cool, I'm going to pick maybe 15 things that you're doing or 15 projects you're on or something that you said that was controversial, and we're going to talk about it. And then it'll spin off in a certain way. So every once in a while, somebody has something controversial going on. I don't know if you saw it, but Jim Lee is charging a lot of money for a commission. So I just did a hangout and that was the topic, right? So so if somebody is really adamant about that, that might be an interview. And then we might talk about some other stuff in comics, right? But like that's also something like that. Or if I've said controversial things, people have interviewed me talking about that. I have an opinion about AI art, and people are not necessarily happy with me about that. And people have interviewed me about that, and we've had discussions about it.
Yeah.
And my opinion is going to piss off people, and it's very simple: is that it's not illegal. I'm not a fan of it, but I also think that to some degree it has forced artists to evolve, because I think artists to some degree have gotten stale. I genuinely think artists have gotten a little too comfortable, because I walk into a comic shop and I look at everything on the shelf and I'm like, all these covers look the same. And at least with an AI cover, whether it's good or bad, it's something different.
Right.
And people say, oh, how can you say that? I'm like, well, walk into a comic shop and nothing stands out to me. At least when I see an AI cover and the thing has 7 hands coming out of it, I'm like, at least I look at the cover. I mean, it makes me stop, and that's the problem. And people, so my point is that my opinion is not a conventional one. So, and people have had conversations with me about that, but I digress.
My opinion, honestly, is, and this will probably drive people just as nutty in just a different way. Again, I don't give a fuck. I just here's why. Here's why. Because I am considered at this point in time old school in my methods and the way I do my craft. That really isn't competing with what I'm doing. It's really not, because I'm doing the exact opposite. Every single inch of what I do has been done by somebody's hand, and it's on a piece of paper. And if I spill my drink on it and I'm halfway done, I'm fucked. There's no clicking back. There's no, oh yeah, well I shaded that really well, and your hand isn't cramping like to no end. Like mine will literally just like freeze up at a certain point, and I have to go and soak it. And I'm like, damn, I wish I could have got more in that night, But the fact that I'm doing it that way means that AI, computer art, people that are using all kinds of different techniques and ways of rendering, even people who paint. And I have a lot of art friends, and some of our graffiti artists who use spray cans and all. No one's competing with what I'm doing. So I don't care. I really like, oh, this is
let me ask this. Since we're on the topic, so I've also made this other argument saying it's not illegal yet, but you can't copyright an AI image.
Right.
You can't. So an AI image, if you did an AI image and I did an AI image, somebody could take that and put it on their Kickstarter, or somebody can make a T-shirt out of it. And guess what? If you spend 90 hours building an AI image, I could take that and you can't do a damn thing about it. You can't do anything about it. It's great. And that's what's great about it, is that, so theoretically, if you have an issue with an AI thing, you could just steal it and sell it yourself, and everybody should take it, put it on Redbubble, and now it'll become worthless.
Right.
But I also view the issue that, because when I have these conversations, I view it technically. You can make an argument that if we're making the argument that it's stealing and not AI, because if a machine is doing somebody's job and it puts somebody out of work, and that's what AI is doing to some degree, then you don't really have a problem with the AI. You have a problem with it stealing. But also, if you draw prints of Spider-Man and you sell those, did you get permission from Marvel? Isn't that also stealing? So at a certain point, we have to actually look at the core of the issue and not the application of it. And nobody in comms wants to have this, or nobody in art wants to have this conversation. Is the issue the AI, or is it the fact that it's a technique and taking away years of learning and potentially stealing techniques? Or is it that you're just threatened by a machine doing your job? Because there's plenty of machines that do people's jobs all the time.
Right.
And this is a very complicated debate. And I don't think anybody wants to have it, because once you get to the core of it, you're like, I don't have a problem with my accounting software doing my job. But I have a problem with this, and now we're being selective. So that's my issue with the whole debate, is that I don't think we're having genuine, honest conversations in art about AI. I don't.
No, we're probably not. And again, for me, my great Switzerland on the whole thing also is that in the fact that I operate as a artist who doesn't use any of that stuff, but even all the images that I create are with the permission, cooperation, and involvement of everybody, so that no one will ever say I stole anything. Ultimately, oh, you're in that drawing? You're not going to be surprised if you're in a drawing of mine, because we've communicated and we've had a lot of business dealings, and then you're expecting to be in a drawing. So it's not like somebody's going to turn the page of a Tommy Bell portfolio and go, I'm in that drawing. No, because you know why? I don't know you.
Did you also feel, though, that's your brand too, where your brand is personal interaction?
Yes.
And this is the thing, is that, so you have a relationship with a lot of these women, and you have a relationship with her to some degree.
Oh,
and that's what makes this piece so interesting, right? Is that you have a relationship with her. I mean, you have a relationship. I'm going to show a few more. You have a relationship with these two women. There's a point where and you could tell that's in the art. And I think that's also the other thing, is that I think sometimes people don't want to create art, or they're just trying to pump out stuff. I mean, I'll be honest, when I look at some comic covers, I think some of these artists are looking to make four, five, $600 and then move on to the next one, and they don't have a personal connection. And I use comics as a good example. That's part of the issue too, is that maybe, somebody is trying to make a living off of this and they need to pump out like six of these so they can eat and make
Right.
their mortgage. And that's also a very different thing when you're a professional artist working for a graphic design company versus doing what you're doing, which is building projects while you're also working a 9 to 5 job.
Right. But even like one of my favorite drawings, not just for the lady's enthusiasm during the entire project and process, but her continued enthusiasm over it, was my reimagining of the Mummy, classic Universal movie.
I have that one.
With Hollywood.
Is it this one?
Yes, Hollywood from Glow, and she was so amazing. And then she was on the drawing show where I was working on that one. She's going to be putting that as a page in her autobiography that's coming out very soon, and even asked me if I would kind of author and write a few paragraphs about what it was like working on that drawing with her. And I will say some big things that I've talked about coming up are absolutely related to the Mummy drawing, and I certainly wouldn't be surprised if the Mummy herself doesn't reprise in my reimagining of Universal projects coming up. So and of course, like I said, that I did that project in October, and I'm still getting fan mail from her about it, and she has a huge poster of it in her house, in her personal house. And the fact that she's putting it in her book and all that, like, that's what I'm talking about. You do one drawing and the impact that, because of what you've done, is reverberated, not just during the creative process where I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to add this and I'm going to do this. And she's like, oh my God, that's great. That's great. It's the fact that that enthusiasm is reverberated now into July of that next year and so on. And with putting it in the book, more and more and more people that are a fan of hers are going to get to see what we worked on together and stuff like that. And it's working on projects like that have that long-term enthusiasm and reverberating ripple effect. Is I didn't intend for that when I came up with the drawing, but it went over so well, and went over so well with her, that of course it certainly has, spawning me to go, okay, I have to use the Mummy character with Hollywood again later.
Isn't it interesting what works and what doesn't?
Yeah. And I will say this, you know what? I'm going to leak something right now. I'm going to leak. This is very important. So, because I am working on the reimagining, and I'm in spooky mood all this year. I'm just going to stick with horror themes for the rest of this year, because that's really my thing. So I did the Mummy last October. My next drawing coming up, I will not say who is in this role, if you will, but it's going to be the Bride of Frankenstein, visualized my way. That's the next thing you're going to see. And then after that, before the year wraps up, there's going to be an incredible follow-up. And that's all I'll say.
So the Bride of Frankenstein technically is Dr. Frankenstein's wife that the monster killed. No, I mean, I'm ready.
Here we go, buy the book.
I'm sorry, it was too easy. It was too easy. And then didn't the monster kill his younger brother too? I mean, the monster was like a real dick in that book.
Yeah, total dick in the book. But what I'm doing, and there's the glory of it, my reimagining.
I know which one you're doing. I know which one you're doing.
I'm pop culturing it from Universal. I'm stealing from the old movies.
Dr. Frankenstein and what he did, because that's the young Frankenstein.
It's Frankenstein and Igor.
Walk this way.
Come on, anybody who knows that reference, come on now. We're waiting to hear from you. Calling on the hotline right now. Tell us what movie that is. And if you don't know, you can't be our friend anymore.
My favorite scene in that one is Walk This Way, and then he takes the knife and he stabs himself in the like onto the opening scene. Oh, it's an amazing movie in so many ways.
Ain't got nobody, ain't nobody cares for me.
Yeah.
It is.
It's,
Up on that
it's,
movie, call in and guess, and you'll get a free autographed something from somebody somewhere.
I'm broke, guys. So that's not true either. But as far as everybody else knows, I'm broke, and
If we
nobody
had
ever
a
is.
contest, I would sign an LFC Tommy Bell shirt and send it to the winner if we actually had a contest.
Oh,
I got lots of LFC shirts.
got nothing. So. But anyway, all jokes aside, I do want to talk about this one because this one's another one that's out there that you've done. I mean, that's a fun one. That's a fun one. Um, that's definitely out there. There's some other stuff. I don't know if I showed this one yet. Also, that one's a lot of fun. I just showed this one as well. This one's cool. I like this one a lot.
That's the Mia Annabella. That's Fairy Dust with Mia Annabella. That's the last picture in my big, long production run. I'm very, very happy with how all those last ones that you just showed, the Women of Sparta, the Lauren Ceccarelli, the one for Bay Fights, there's Women of Sparta with Jennifer Thomas and Queen Erotica.
I thought that was Jen Thomas. I thought that was Jen Thomas. I wasn't sure.
Jennifer's great.
So that's Jen Thomas. And then which one is this one?
This is Lauren Ceccarelli, Lauren the Adventurous Ceccarelli. She's amazing. She is just so, and she not only works for the LFC, but she also is involved in a lot of the independent wrestling scenes and stuff. And she's just, her platform's really on the rise. And her and I met at LFC 35. My first Vegas trip out there for an LFC event was also hers. So not only was it my first time out there in Vegas and at an LFC event, but it was also her first time being out there. And so we met. We were actually in the same car going to the event, making like awkward small talk because, you don't know what to say to these people when you first meet them. And of course, now you can't get us to shut up. But she's just great. And, when that drawing came around, when her drawing came around, I knew I was exhausted. I was reaching that point of like, I know that I needed to finish the last drawings that I had on my list with an incredible bang. The visuals, like nothing could go wrong. The colors had to pop, and the thematic quality of each image. I wanted people to want to stare at it for more than just a couple seconds on their phone, and so I just pour everything into those last ones. And it was absolutely worth it because I have no complaints about those drawings. And I did like extra fine details, like hiding Lauren's initials in the drawing, and there's so much detail in there. It's like, okay. And I always challenge all my models because that's something I do in all my drawings. And I say, okay, find your initials. And I drive some of them catch it right away. And some of them takes a while. And I have tremendous amount of fun with that.
Oh, there's still a little troll still in you. There's a little troll in you being over
50.
A
lot of troll in me. Poor Angelica Coe from Italy, who I got to meet at Jennifer Thomas's event in Vegas last year. We met and got to hang out. Angelica Coe and I have been friends for years. We finally got to meet. I challenged her on her drawings to find her initials, and she always has a tough time. And I just drag it out, because I'm an asshole.
And then there's this one, which is cool. I like this one. Yeah. This one is always fun.
Castaways is what I called this one. That's Skylar Calico and Tyler Lynn, and that was off of a video they did for a company called Bay Fights. So I had never drawn anything showcasing any of those people or entities, but I really wanted to do that drawing. And it was funny because not having worked with any of them, the reactions were very confused. Like in the beginning of 2020, when I first started drawing again, where it's like, you want to do what? who are you? Because they had no idea. And I was just like, well, look. And I got this drawing show, and Skylar Calico was an absolute professional. And all the way she was like, I'll do your drawing show. And she hopped on with me and Michael, and we had a great time. And that was just a really fun
Well,
piece. But that was a drawing I wanted to do absolutely for personal reasons. No company or model reached out to me and said, would you please do this? No, that was me going, I want that in my portfolio for me, and I just have to involve these
we,
people.
we know the real reason, right? I mean, I could tell the real reason, right? You needed a redemption on your palm tree from the 60 one.
Desperately, desperately.
Because those palm trees are a lot better. I thought it was an inflatable thing, and clearly that was like your attempt at doing a palm tree. Like I thought it was just like an inflatable beach thing because she was still holding the drink. Like I had a very different interpretation on that than everybody else did, and it's a great clip. It's a great clip. I could send you that clip if you want to put that on your Instagram. Because I will send that to you. And because I had a very different interpretation than other people did. Oh,
Here's the thing, like you don't. You're not always going to hit everything on an artistic level, and during those production days, I was barely stopping to look at a finished drawing before starting the next one. And if something didn't turn out, I didn't even allow myself, like in retrospect.
you probably didn't see my TikTok that I released on Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't have TikTok.
So Brian, it was on Instagram too. Brian Malonis, I think I released it yesterday on TikTok or on Thursday. He said, "In Russell, you have one take." And what he was referring to is that in a match or sometimes in a promo, if you're live, you have one take to sell your promo. You better get it right. And there's going to be times where you get it wrong. And the point he was trying to make in the TikTok, and I thought it was a very good thing, and it did well, it did like 700 views on TikTok, is that you get one take. Even in tapings, you get one take to do something. It's not like you have 4 or 5 takes to do it. And sometimes in art, you got to get something out and you got to move on to the next one, I would imagine.
Well, and here's the thing too, and this is being brutally honest, and I was told a long time ago by people who care about me very much to never publicly kick myself. And so I do keep that to a minimum. Although I have to be honest, as an artist, I'm incredibly harsh on myself and on every project that I do. People don't realize that because I come across, and I want to come across very optimistic and very, hey, da, da, da. But when I'm working and there's not a drawing show camera on and I'm not on with somebody or whatever, I'm really putting myself through a meat grinder because, okay, let's say I did 92 drawings so far. People are like, wow, that's really great. I would say probably 80 of those I'm highly dissatisfied with something on them. And I can't just, oh, I'll do it again. I'll do it again. I'll do it again. I have to, every original artwork gets spray coated with this clear spray coating that takes 15 minutes to dry. And when it's dry, there's this thick gloss coating over top of these things. And I can't work on them anymore, or I will fuck up the original. And that's my stopping point. If I don't do that, I can keep working on them. And the ones that take the longest are the ones that I'm usually the most unhappy with how they're turning out. And it's the absolute honesty. I'm not going to get into a big sob story or anything because it's certainly not that. But I'm happy with about 15 to 18 of my drawings that I
I'm going to ask you
complain about.
About my podcast, and I'm curious what you're going to think about this. How many interviews do you think So I do a lot of interviews. I have about 800. Mm-hmm. Out of those 800, how many do you think I'm happy with?
I don't know. That's a scary question.
Take a guess. It's not a loaded question. It's not a right or wrong. It's going to prove a point. Okay. How many do you think out of 800 that I've done in my whole interview career in the last 10 years, how many do you think are perfect interviews, and how many do you think I'm happy with?
I think you're happy with 20 of them, and I think there's 5 perfect interviews.
There's one perfect interview. In 800 interviews, there's one. I'm not going to tell anybody which one it
Right?
is.
Yeah, don't do that.
For whatever reason, me and the person were just on the same wavelength, and the questions flew into the other. And it was a combination of me just being in a certain state. Nothing was wrong surrounding me. My dog was behaving, and a bunch of other stuff was going on. Right. And
Right.
it sounds weird, but a perfect interview is pure luck
Yeah.
in many ways. About, I would say, out of the 800, I'm pretty happy with about 50 of them, to be honest, because 50 of them are pretty solid. The other 750 are probably about 700 of them, maybe 650 of those are good, and the last 100 are rough.
They start
But,
falling into this scale back.
but,
We kind
but
of almost have the same ratio.
the first 100 interviews are the ones I'm not happy with because I'm still cutting my teeth. They're not bad interviews as far as the content. They're bad because I wasn't there yet. And then every once in a while, you just have a bad interview.
Right.
I've had plenty of bad interviews, but with some people. And I've had interviews where I've interviewed somebody 6 times and 3 of them are great and 3 of them are bad. And I don't know which person I'm getting on that day.
Right.
And it's a weird thing when you're interviewing certain people and you don't know which person you're getting on. And at this point, I'm not interested in doing a 7th with them because I don't know which person I'm getting.
Right.
And it's weird, right? It's the same person. And look, I've had good interviews with people and bad interviews with people. And sometimes you don't know what person I'm getting. For all you know, I could have just had a bad day at work and I'm just not a good interviewer
Right.
on that particular day. But like it's interesting, right? And the reason why I bring that up is that I just have to shoot and move on and get better. And I know this because I'm now editing and cutting up interviews. And when you go back 3 or 4 years ago, you're like, oh my God, this is so painful to fucking cut up. What the fuck was I doing? How the hell am I still in this game? Like it's bad. It's bad.
Dude, that's one of my big problems is that, so very early on in doing my drawing show, Sketchy AF, sketchy and funny, I had to bring Michael in as editor and then co-host because I just don't like the sound of my voice for all that long, even though I talk a lot. But when it came to approving the shows, so like we would do a show and then Michael would edit it and then he would send it to me. Tommy, watch this and let me know what you think. I hate watching because I've already done the show. Like, so in my head, I already have it. And I will watch like a couple minutes. And then I'm like, that's great. It's great, Michael. Go ahead there. And it's hard. I don't watch my stuff because I don't like
I
to.
got better when I started watching Me Heavy. And I
don't
took
want
that.
to.
I took that from Matt Hardy and Anthony Green.
Oh, cool.
Matt Hardy was speaking with Anthony Green and this guy Logan Easton. And when I interviewed Logan Easton, who's great, and Anthony Green, they both explained something to me as wrestlers that they got better as wrestlers when Matt Hardy was explaining, you know what, you need to watch yourself and you need to shut up and listen to people when they're critiquing you. And you could have a discussion about it, but you should never. And so you have to watch yourself. You have to critically watch yourself to become better. And that's what I've learned. And it doesn't just apply. I mean, it applies on an interview basis. It applies in wrestling. It applies in anything in sports. But in art, you need to honestly critique yourself. You need somebody else to critique you. Doesn't mean. I mean, obviously, somebody can say, "Oh, Tommy Bell, you really fucked up this one right here, guys. You really
That's a
fucked this
what?
up really bad. How could you draw a mummy like that?" That's not helping, right? But if somebody says, "I wish that let's say you missed a shade of yellow," right? That's an honest, fair critique saying, I wish the yellow popped off more, right? Or I wish there was a little bit more red because the red and yellow really pop. And I wish there was a little bit more depth on the mummy lettering, for instance. Not that there's nothing wrong with that cover or that.
It's an example. But
Yeah.
I love hearing stuff like that because it tells me somebody looked at something, they noticed something, and all of a sudden, even if it was for 30 seconds, they were invested in it instead of that sucks or that was cool. It was they noticed something and they were offering like that's I'm all about that. And I think I actually crave that because I, had a mom for many years of art who I could have literally spit on a piece of paper and she would have said, "Oh, that's beautiful," and I never got an honest, and I was starved for that, you know, honesty. Not that I was starved for people to rip me apart. It was I was starved for, tell me what you like and don't like about it. If you really like it, great. If you
And
don't really like
also,
it, that's great too. But give me a reason.
also, I mean, let's say you thought a piece was horrible. I've had people say, "Dude, that was a great interview, man." I'm like, "Oh, dude, I just didn't feel that interview, man." No, and like, somebody said, "Dude, that was a great interview." I said, "Dude, you don't have to be nice, man. It wasn't good." It's like, "No, dude, what you did in that interview is that you just you had it stiff and you divided the interview into six parts, but you got into the details of those six covers that people want to know." And I'm like, "Dude, I just felt like the interview was off on my end. It wasn't off on his end. The failure always falls on me." And like you're like, dude, like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You did a fantastic job on this one.
Yeah.
And I said, like, I know people are trying to be, no, dude, we're not being kind to you. You did a great job on this one. I'm like, I appreciate it. I just didn't feel it. And I wish it flowed a little bit better. Dude, and the guy was like, no, dude, you did a great job because yeah, it was stiff, but you also broke it into six parts that worked. And yeah, your transition was a little bit off, but nobody cared about that because they wanted to know what this guy Steph Wilson was thinking during these six covers. That are some of his most iconic covers. And people are like, and it's a well watched interview and people love it. So there you go. But I do want to talk about the book cover.
Oh
So
yeah.
this is the book cover. So I was speaking to her because I didn't know who she was, but me and her are speaking. I'm like, hey, how do you know Tommy? I'm interviewing tomorrow. So obviously, but you have a book cover. I'm not exactly sure the whole details of the book. So, but I think it's a novel if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's going to be what it is. So this author and my dear friend Mignon Dauphine, Mimi, got a hold of me and she got this book deal for a book that's a thriller suspense based off of real life events that happened to her and then taken a writer's uh, you know expansion and done with these things, different stuff. But so she had a very definitive idea of what she wanted to see for the cover, which was extremely elaborate. But we spent, again, one drawing, but we spent probably 3-4 weeks just discussing what the drawing was going to be before I ever even sharpened my pencil. It was just getting in my head all this stuff that she wanted. This book of hers, which, because she told me, she said, I've got this idea. I want you to do the book cover for, so it's a really big opportunity for you. And I'm going, book cover? And then I kind of calmed myself for a minute because I said, okay, first of all, every artist wants to do a book cover, but let's be realistic. If the book is about butterflies and rainbows, I understand that you want me to do it, but it's probably not a project that I want to do. Even projects that are high paying doesn't mean that I'm just going to say, yeah, sure. And I don't have a lot of money, but it's not, it's more about saying it also has to be something that's in line with what I want to do. Like, let's face it. Otherwise I'm just a Xerox machine. So she had a very definitive idea. She wanted my style. And because the book borderline on supernatural and horror elements, which I'm all about, and I had the freedom to create. And of course, her original idea was, I'm surrounded by these 4 female demons, and I'm like, you know. And of course, and she's like, but I don't know if you're going to want to do the job. And I said, well, why? And she's like, well, the title is a bit, it's very attention getting. And I said, well, what's the title of the book? And she said, well, the title of the book is The Quantities, Hood Rats, Homewreckers, and Informants. And I went, that sounds exactly like something I need in my portfolio right now. And when she went on to explain, the Quantities is based on, everybody knows what a wannabe is. But then you also have the queen bees in society, and everybody knows what a queen bee is in society. And when you combine those two elements, the wannabe and the queen bee, you get the quantity, which she came up with and coined as the title of her book, based on the idea that when you have that kind of toxic combination within the wrong person, it's going to bring out their most demonic qualities, which they're then going to use to horrify your life. And when she was sending me, I still haven't read the book front to back, so I don't know the entire story. She has
Or did you read the
chapters.
front and the back, just not the middle?
She has sent me random
I'm
chapters.
sorry, it was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah, but absolutely. But she sent me chapters randomly, so I have no. But I've read basically scenes, and it was really interesting and really kind of creepy enough, and whatever. And I really, then I was like, okay, I want to be a part of this. And the best part is, I get to have my artwork finally on something that the broad public is going to see. They'll be able to go to a bookstore and pick up, or they can go here or there.
It's very cool. It's very cool. So my mom
Yeah.
wrote a book, and it was in a bookstore. And it's very cool when you go into a bookstore and you look for my mom's book, and I'm with, my girlfriend or with some of my friends, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's my mom's book. And then it has my mom's name on it. It's very cool when you see books that written by people, let alone a cover and a bunch of cool stuff. It's a very cool experience when you actually know somebody who did something in that space. So it's a big
Yeah.
deal.
And for me, it really is. And for me, I'm like, wow, I get to know. I've worked with the author before on private projects that were not shown on social media because they were family portraits and things that are hanging in people's houses, which I have been hired by some people here and there, like her, like certain people from the LFC, to do their family portraits that they hang in their house.
This is a
And
good question.
part of that is that I don't ever show that stuff on social media. I don't
I'm gonna
need
throw
posts
up. I'm gonna
like
throw
that.
up a prompt to you because this actually leads into something that I wanted to ask you anyway.
Hmm.
And an artist, I'm not gonna say who, from a big company, put this up on social media. He said, "Here's a solution to artists who do commissions who want to keep flippers from reselling your art. Personalize each piece or write not for resale on it because people will go and get a commission at a con." And then they'll go and they'll try to resell it, get it graded, and you'll buy a sketch for $50 of Batman and then try to resell it on eBay. And I'm curious what your take is on that because my take on it is that if I give you money to do something and then I hire you as an artist and I pay you whatever rate you quote me, isn't it mine at that point? And if you put not for resale on it, doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of ruining the art? And once I paid you, aren't you made whole? And if you have a real problem with me reselling, then you should charge me more money, right? So I'm curious how you take that because to me, if I hired you to do original art and then for whatever reason in a year from now I want to sell it, I don't think I've violated any problem unless we have a contract that I can't do that. Does that make any
My
sense?
my rules are extremely strict on that, and I'm very clear with everybody about every project. If I'm doing something, which most of my stuff, I have the personal intention of working with them on, but also reselling myself in some merchandising way at some point in time, whether it's not now, but if it's in a year or whatever. So a lot of the stuff I have my own personal interest in reproducing and selling. And if I have had no kickback on that unless someone is paying the top dollar for a commission, a private commission piece that is theirs. Here's what I won't do. I am not going to graffiti some bullshit about not for resale or anything at all like that. What I'm doing is doing something that is theirs. When I ship it off and they tell me I got it, it's theirs. It's absolutely theirs.
I'll throw it a different way. I'll ask the question. So let's say I hired you to do a comic book cover for me, and I said I want the original, so I could put it on the Kickstarter for $1,200. I'm going to pay you for the original, right?
Mhm.
And we figure out the negotiation there. You're not going to put on the original not for resale.
No,
But
absolutely. Why would I do that? That's so because I've been just like anybody else. You hire a plumber because you got a leak, and he comes out and fixes your plumbing.
So I got a commission from somebody, and I have no intention of reselling it. Right? I got it
Okay,
great. It's
but
beautiful.
even if you did, it's already yours. It's your piece of. It's your.
And that so like I got offended when I saw that because I'm like, why would you ruin a beautiful piece of art with not for resale on it? If it's a beautiful commission, why would you ruin it if you really want? You
I
write a
can't.
contract on the back end saying you can't do X, but
I,
and then attach it, have people sign it, you both sign it, and then if you find it resale, you handle it in a legal way, right? But why would you ruin the art? And I got so
what?
offended, and it was from an artist who runs a major company in comics, and I was like, this to me, I got offended as somebody who appreciates and doesn't want to ruin art, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't understand. I honestly, I don't understand. And I was sitting there trying to figure out what the legalities, and there may be something that I don't understand, or as we've covered before, something that I just don't give a shit about. But for me, as an artist, I wouldn't insult somebody, especially somebody that I'm taking money from, because they want a skill and a product from me that I'm then sending to them, to deface it in any way like that, or to make the assumption like somebody orders a commission from me that is literally a private thing, and they're like, please don't make this a poster later, this is from me, this is a business transaction and this and that. If they decide they want to make posters of it, of their family portrait or whatever, okay, it's yours. You paid for it. Yeah, it might be my signature on there somewhere, little bell, in whatever year I did it, but it's yours. I don't care if you use it to line your cat box, or if you sell 10,000 prints. That's really none of my business, because I said, here's what I'll charge. You said, okay, I'll pay that. And then you got the drawing exactly the way you wanted it. That the rest of the business, what happens between that
you
piece.
understand why I asked this, because as somebody who is not an artist, right? I don't know how an artist should react to this. I don't know because I'm confused because
They're all
I
different. Artists are all different. And that's the thing, is that some will say, well, here's why. And they'll have a good reason for that. And again, my thinking isn't always in line with other people. And so therefore it makes me actually on the inside.
you're not the only one I'm going to ask this question to. So don't feel like no
No,
pressure. I'm
it's
not
just,
trying to put you on like the spot, but I was curious.
it's my personal, like, I would never do that, because my level of give a fuck at that point is minimal. Like, I've got other things to worry about, and it's not that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No. I was just curious because I'm missing something with this, and that's why I'm curious, because I just looked at it and I'm like, I don't get this, because I pay for something and then it's mine if I bought a commission, and then if I'm selling a comic blank cover commission, what do you care if I resell it? You
Yeah, my
made
commission clients would be the first ones to tell you that no, what they order and get from me is theirs to keep, do whatever with, and I don't do anything to make sure they can't do whatever. Okay,
cool.
I've
So
already done my part. My job's done.
now, but that's the most controversial thing we're going to talk about, because I do want to do something that's fun though with you, because
Oh,
and I got $6 and I want your honest critique of the $6 as an artist.
okay.
And some of these are fun. Some of these are fun. And you could attack them as much as you want. What's your honest critique of this book? This nice, beautiful Taylor Swift. Chiefs won the Super Bowl. It's Taylor Swift. I want to know your honest critique of Taylor Swift on this book.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'll tell you why. It's weird, because some people are like, what the fuck? What are you, a Swiftie? You know what? This is cool. It's cool because it's different. It's, maybe it's the fact that it's Taylor Swift on a comic book, and there she is, all pop up,
Chiefs.
the pinup art and everything, and it's done, of course, it's done really well. I'm a fan of that, man. I like that. That gives me the thumbs up on that one.
I like
And
it
I'm
too.
not really a Swiftie or anything, but like, the lady definitely does her own thing, so I'm not going to slam her in any way.
Cool.
I just think that's kind of cool.
I like it too. I got it in metal. I got it in foil. Yeah, I got number 13 on that one, which is her number. Cool. The next
I
one.
kind of like that. That's
How
cool.
about this one? This is all foiled out, so you can see the foil a little bit on it.
Hold that up closer. Let me get a good look at that.
I'm trying to do my best here. It's,
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah.
tricky. I'm sorry
That's
about the glare. There's nothing I can do about the glare, everybody. I'm
no, I
sorry.
know. I get it. I get it. I like that.
I get two. I have
Yeah.
all 10 of them, even though it says 20 on it. I have all 10. I bought all 10 of these.
And which, just looking at like that cover and that artwork, like I remember as a kid trying to draw like really cool stuff like that, and it just wasn't happening for me. Just in that style, and
I like it too. It's got kind of like an Ariana Grande vibe to it, I feel.
yeah, yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool.
I know I bought all 20 of them, all 10 of them, even though it says 20 on it.
Right. Why does well? Is it because it's one is a foil cover and one is a non-foil cover? Is
What
that what it
happened
is?
is that it was actually an error book printing.
Oh,
So
okay.
they sold all 10. They were supposed to print 20. And they said we could destroy the other 10 or we could return your thing. And I said, I'll keep the 10 guys. If you destroy the others, no worries. Things happen.
Right. Okay. Fair
Okay, so now this is the fun stuff because so this is my John Cena book.
enough.
So it is signed by John Cena. This is the back of the book, so the back's cool.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
says I love the back of these WWE books. They're the coolest backs ever in comics. But obviously you can see that it says John Cena signed it up here,
Yeah. That's
certified.
gold.
So yeah. So what's your critique of this book?
Beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's the fact that I'm a big fan of foil covers too. When you take colors, like just the colors on that one, where you've got white, black, and red, and you do a foil with it, it's going to scream from way across the room. You could have a whole wall of comic books like in a comic book shop, and you'll be able to see that one from a mile away.
I don't even think this is foil. I just think it looks foilish.
It's not foil.
That's
It
not
looks
foil.
it looks very foilish. It's not. Is it just because it's in a case? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so. The
Okay.
casing of this one makes it look like really popped off.
Yeah, it looks
But like
shiny.
you can see, like there's like no foil here. Like what you're seeing is the glare.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I got, but I love the backs of those. Like those are so cool, and
And it's cool because it's
I
autographed by John
I
Cena.
well, yeah. I mean, anytime you've got anything, I have a comic book that's autographed, and we won't get into it, but that's in my gold collection of like, because there's artists that I admire to an extreme, and that cover is like one of those covers you strive for, like cool looking.
I like it because I like the writing. I like the white on red, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean it pops because of the limited colors used in a design way that just makes everything pop. So the logo in the top left pops as an individual item, and it, like again, even from across the room in a comic.
And then my favorite part is that it's like the paper ripping.
Yes.
And so I don't know if you could see it, but you could see that in the back it says that you can't see me all here, but it's not even that highlighted out
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
on that. So like, I love this cover. When I saw it, I bought it. I didn't care because it's a beautiful cover. So that's my John Cena.
That's
Then
beautiful.
we're gonna get to the fun stuff here. I got three more. So we got this one right here. Again,
Hey.
Alexa Bliss by Audrey Muck or Mock.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Again, the glare is not our friend today.
No, it's not, but it's still, I mean, I could see the cover even with the glare. So it's like, damn, that's great. Let's see the back here. Mm-hmm.
So I bought this one dirt cheap. This one dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap. Dirt cheap, he says, folks.
Like 125 for this.
Still only 35 cents.
So yeah, so you can critique them all you want. It's not going to change my opinion. I just don't like her autograph on this one, because I have another Alexa Bliss coming. Sorry to ruin everybody, but like if her autograph right here is not the best one.
Yeah, but it's still cool. I mean, in anything autographed. I mean, I'm a fan of autographs myself, and so anything that's autographed, whether it's a good one or not, it doesn't matter. The cover is really cool, though. I get jealous. You know why I have not much to say during these is because I'm always jealous. Like when you see these really cool covers, and I see it,
And then
I
we
see
got
cool
this
comic
one.
covers. Yes, sir. You know, like these are things that I would strive for, as an artist to be able to have like a line of like really cool covers that pop. And just to have that job. I mean, flip that over so you can look at that along with me for a second. Just to have the job of like cover illustrator if you were an artist. Look at that. Fucking amazing.
So I like this. I like her autograph on this one a lot personally.
Yes.
I
You
feel
know
this
what
one,
my other issue is I'm just too damn jealous.
but again, these two that I just showed, I bought together in a set for $250.
Outstanding.
So I just saw an opportunity. I bought them.
Are
I
they
had
graded?
money. What?
Are they graded?
Yeah, those are graded and the autographs are authenticated.
What's the grades on those, mister?
That's a 9.8. So the John Cena is a
Oh.
9.8. The Alexa Bliss is a 9.8. Both Alexa Blisses are 9.8. So the John Cena is a CGC grade. This is
Yeah.
a company called CBCS.
Okay.
So CBCS is a competitor to CGC. I
Yeah.
wish that these were CGC'd, to be honest. CBCS,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and also these are what are called witness signatures versus I have a book that has a
Certificate of authenticity thing or whatever.
so these were witnessed where Alexa Bliss was in that store signing these
Yeah.
books by CGC. So it's a cool book. Same thing with the John Cena stuff, but the way they do that is that they just hire her, and this was from a company called Neighborhood Comics up in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
So those are cool books. And then the final book is this one right here, which is this right here, that one right there. Obviously, for those who want to see that, I don't know if anybody can read that, but I'll tell you what it is. It's signed by Bailey, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Nikki, and Brie Bella, all in the same book.
Damn.
And this is the back of the book. So the back is cool because, as you could see, it's got that San Diego logo down below. And the story of this book, for those who want to actually know what happened, is that you had to go buy this book, I think, from the Marvel booth. And you entered into a raffle where all 6 of these women were signing for free. And if you won the raffle, you got to get this book. And since this book, it actually has it that it was signed on 7/20/17, which is San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
So this book was actually signed on July 20th in 2017 is when that raffle and that signing occurred. And there's only 3 of these in the world.
Good golly, that is. And with all those beautiful comic book covers, I'm thrilled to have my own book cover coming out here. It's not my own book, but at least I get a cover on somebody's book.
So this is a cool book.
Here,
I
I
don't
got
know
something for you to review. Hold on a second.
I'll review anything. I got a bunch of stuff. It's cool. I can bring some other stuff out. Technically, I have one more that I did not get to show you. That's a fun one to show. So it's this one.
Oh, that is cool.
This is a 101.
Nice.
This wasn't even that expensive. It was like $42.
Right.
I stole it again. But yeah.
I won't tell anyone.
So I got a bunch
Okay.
of
I don't really
one because it's really valuable. It's probably like a $200 book. Just have it laying out.
Since this is show and tell, you don't actually have to review this. I'm just going to show it because it's show and tell time, and you were showing all kinds of cool stuff, and I got jealous. And so the little kid in me has to come back with, you have got a lot of really cool comic books, my buddy Andrew, but what you don't have is your own Iron Man action figure. That is Tommy Bell as Iron Man right there. That's right, from the Infinity Saga. Because before they asked Robert Downey Jr. to play the part of Iron Man, they called me, and unfortunately I was too busy. So I had to pass on that, but they gave me this action figure. And it looks just like
I do have a Green Lantern power battery. I genuinely have one. It's those things are really expensive now.
My brother ordered that for me, and I didn't even know those things existed. But then all of a sudden, I have an Iron Man figure with my bald head on it. Well, that rocks. I mean, you know, you've made it when you have your own action figure, right?
I do not have my own action figure. I was trying to make a Nikki Bella Goblin action figure. There's websites you could do it. I was gonna do it. I made it like Nikki Bella, all that fun stuff. It was great, but I digress. I
Right.
digress because I realized how expensive it would have been, and I was like, I don't have $110 lying around right now, so I will pass. But it would have been cool. It would have been a female Nikki Bella Goblin. And then it would have been my Dungeons and Dragons mascot. It would have been awesome. I'd have been like, you could look, but you can't touch. Would have been my whole. It would have been great. It would have been so good in so many ways. People be like, you're a dude though, playing Dungeons and Dragons as a Nikki Bella Goblin. I'm like, yeah, you
Cool.
really can't see me. And that's how it would have got down. It would have been great. And the whole quest would have been how she broke John Cena's heart. It would have been great. The whole thing would have been a great journey, and it would have been like, you really know how to write, dude. Like it would be great. And then we all die because she broke his heart. But anyway, I mean, me and Nikki Bella just, I will never forgive her. I will never forgive her for that. All jokes aside, I've never met her, but I would love to have a conversation with Nikki Bella because I think she's done so much and she doesn't get enough credit. But I digress. We all have dreams. We know what a few of mine are, but more importantly, I do want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. Where can people find you? Check you out, see what you're doing, all that fun stuff because you got a lot of stuff going on. And where can people tune in to see what's coming out in the next 6 months for you?
Well, everybody, I try to be as accessible as I can be for a man in his mid 50s who's really just not technologically savvy as I should be. But you can find me on Facebook under Tommy Bell. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter under Tommy Bell Art. I also have a YouTube channel, Tommy Bell Art. And you can also find my drawing show, Sketchy and Funny. We just wrapped up, even with a bonus episode. Season 1 is finally just wrapped up. Me and Michael Larkin on Michael Larkin on his platforms. You can also find Tommy Bell Art, Sketchy and Funny. This drawing show is on my YouTube channel. It's on his YouTube channel. It's on Spotify, and it's on all these other different platforms and stuff. And then the real top on the cake is that it is also the whole drawing show is available on the VIP section of the Laundry Fighting Championships website. So if you go to LFC_fights.com or LFCfights.com, that's where you can find it in the VIP section, along with all kinds of other crazy content from. They are so nice to be able to put my little drawing show on there as something else. The VIP customers can pull up and watch all the craziness. So right there on Twitter or X or whatever you want to say, it's Tommy Bell Art. And on Instagram, it's Tommy Bell Art. And on Facebook, it's just Tommy Bell. And you'll see this bald little head. And that's how you know. And that's pretty much it. I've got some really cool things coming up, including, like I leaked earlier, The Bride of Frankenstein is going to be coming to life later this year. And I'm so excited for that. And I've got some really, really cool things, including Mignon Duffine's book, Quannabees, Hood Rats, Home Wreckers, and Informants. I had the pleasure of doing the cover for that crazy book. That's going to be coming out very soon as well. Hopefully for Halloween, if not a little bit before that is when that book comes out, I do believe. But of course, everything changes, so I don't have an official word on that. But I mean, we're going from book covers to a podcast parade. I'm going to be a guest on several different podcasts coming up. So I mean, it's a busy time.
Well, I appreciate you starting off with me. Hopefully everybody will raise the bar, because I know I set it high, but I set it so that everybody can do better. And which that's the goal here. So I hope the next one just kills it further, and then that next one after that kills it even more. That's what I hope for.
Well, it's always such a fun time being on this show, though, that it's got its own unique comfortability, and I get a kick out of being on here and just BSing with you and just talking about all this different stuff. I mean, it's cool because I'm just sitting back and hanging out.
Just average. I'm just average, and I'm just throwing caution to the wind. And my whole life has legitly been failing up. And apparently, every time I do something, I do okay with it. Apparently, I fall in two things because I'm smart enough and I use common sense. And that's like my whole eBay business is that way. And then you do a little common sense with a little thought process, and you'll be fine. It is really hard to fail. If you just apply common sense and commonalities, and you don't do anything stupid in life, it's really hard to fail.
That last one's really hard for me to.
But anyway, I
Maybe
digress.
that's what my problem is.
Again. I learned all about the WNBA in the last 2 months, and I'm making a killing on it.
Right.
And then, if you told me 2 months ago the WNBA was going to be in my eBay store as a top shelf product, I would have told you you're fucking crazy and go to hell, you're wrong. And 2 months later, legitly, it has revived and is now a permanent structure in my business. It's insane. And then I'm a WNBA fan. I watch the games and I'm having a great time with it. So again, I just caught a trend right at the right time because I saw the writing on the wall and I jumped. And I knew I was going to be fine. And I knew it because nobody gets hurt if they just ride the roller coaster and they don't jump off of it in the middle of it. Nobody gets hurt on a roller coaster. 99.9% of the time. I want to make that crystal clear. These could go wrong on a roller coaster. They absolutely can. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to keep saying it. If you like what you see, you have to support people. So what that means is that you got to follow them on social media, buy their merch, support where they can be found. Obviously, LFC is a big place to find Tommy. Obviously, he's got a lot of Instagram stuff. Watch his show when he does do his merch stuff. Obviously, go support him there. Goes a long way. Follow him on social media. It's a big deal to support people. And a follow is not going to cost you any money to do. And then as far as I'm concerned, I am Pop Anime Comics on what is now known formally as Twitter as X. I am Pop Anime Comics on the Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on YouTube. Please subscribe. I have like 1,500 plus videos on YouTube, and I cannot promise that you will get smarter with me, but I can assure you that you will be entertained. And then I do have an eBay store, everybody, and my eBay store is Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. Look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay, and I carry some awesome product like this in my store. I have all 15 of those. I have all 15 of these in my store.
Check them out, people. Take a look.
I'm also bringing stuff like this that is now sold out. I carry awesome baseball cards like this in my store. I think I have one of these left, which is a game-used base from Rickwood, which is it's cool. So Major League Baseball, for those who don't know, is recognizing the Negro League statistics now, finally. And so they play a game at Rickwood, and this is a game-used base from that game that happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that's something that's very cool that I have in my store, as well as I do have stuff like this in my store, which is an Angel Reese card. She just broke the double-double record, and that card sold out really quickly. So I have stuff like that. And I have this in my store as well, which is a Juju Watkins on autograph card. So that's an expensive card, and she can dunk. She can dunk, guys. So when she's in the WNBA, expect some slam dunks from Juju Watkins because she can dunk. And if you haven't seen her dunking, she can dunk. So I carry a lot of cool merch, and my favorite piece of merch that I love to carry is this.
Dun, dun, dun.
So that's a sample of what I have, and I'm going to keep saying it, is that I carry a lot of merch. I don't have everything listed in my eBay store. So if you're looking for something, ask me. And if I don't have it, chances are I do know somebody who does. And I'm more than happy to hook you up. So if you're looking for a really rare, weird book, chances are I got a lot of friends in the industry, and they will happily hook you up, and I will hook you up to them to see if they got it. So that's everything that I got going on. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
All right. Well, if anybody out there is looking for their very own Tommy Bell action figure, you have psychological problems, and that's all I can say. You're not going to get one, so. No, I just appreciate being on this show. It's always fun. Thank you, Andrew, for having me on to talk about everything. It's always just really great, and it's been a blast.
Well, I don't think I could have said that any better myself, everybody. And that is a wrap.